Picture a person pushing a car up a long, steep hill, both hands flat against the trunk, shoulders down, legs straining, shoes slipping on the asphalt. The car barely moves, inch by inch, foot by foot, it creeps upward, and the only thing making it go is the person behind it, sweating, grinding, refusing to stop. Every single foot of progress is paid for in effort. The moment they stop pushing, the car stops moving. And if they let go for even a second, it starts rolling backward. Now hold that image because that is exactly what saving money feels like for most people. For years, you push. You put $100 away, and the account goes up $100. You put in another 100, it goes up another 100. There is no help. There is no momentum. There is just you behind the car pushing it up the hill with your bare hands, and the terrible feeling that if you ever stop, if you miss a month, if life knocks the wind out of you, it all just rolls back down. Here is what almost nobody tells you. There is a point on that hill, a specific place, a specific number, where something changes completely. Where you push the car over a crest you didn't even know was coming, and the road tips downward, and the car starts to roll on its own. And for the first time, you feel it move without you. You take your hands off the trunk, and it keeps going. That is not a fantasy, and it is not motivational fluff. It is a real number, and once your savings cross it, a switch flips, and your money starts working harder than you do. Most people never find that number because they quit halfway up the hill, convinced the pushing never ends. Today, I'm going to show you exactly where that crest is, what actually happens when you cross it, why the climb before it is so brutal that most people give up right before the top, and how to get there from wherever you're standing right now. And by the end, you're going to understand the strangest truth in all of personal finance. The goal was never to work harder for your money. The goal was to climb high enough that your money starts working for you. Let me show you the two forces fighting over every dollar you save, because understanding them is the whole game. Picture your savings as that car on the hill, and picture two ropes tied to it, pulling in opposite directions. The first rope is you. It's every dollar you add from your paycheck, your muscle, your effort, your discipline. When you're just starting out, this rope is doing absolutely all the work. Picture it stretched tight, you leaning back with your whole body weight, dragging the car forward, one hard-won foot at a time. The second rope is tied to something you can't see clearly yet, something small and far away at the top of the hill. That rope is your money earning money. It's the interest, the growth, the return, dollars that show up in your account that you did not put there, that were generated by the dollars already sitting inside it. And here's the thing about that second rope in the early days. It's basically a thread. It's a piece of string. It's so weak it might as well not be there. Let me make this concrete with a picture you can actually see. Imagine your savings can grow at around 7% a year, which is roughly what a broad, boring, diversified investment has tended to return over long stretches, once you account for inflation. I want to be honest that this is a long-run average, not a promise. Some years are flat, some are frightening, and this is the kind of growth that only shows its face across decades, not months. But use it as our rough engine. Now watch what that second rope can actually pull. When you have $1,000 saved, 7% a year is $70. $70 over an entire year. Picture that, you spent 12 months pushing the car up the hill with everything you have, and your money's contribution to the climb was $70. A rounding error, you'd save more than that skipping a couple of dinners out. At this stage, the money rope is a spider's thread, and you are the entire engine. When you have $10,000 saved, that 7% becomes $700 a year. Better, but still, picture the two ropes side by side. You hauling in thousands with your bare hands, and the money rope pulling a modest 700. You are still doing more than 90% of the work. The car still stops the instant you stop pushing. This is the phase almost everyone lives in, and here's the cruel part. This is the phase that feels like the whole story. When you've got a few $1,000s saved, the growth is so small, so invisible, that every ounce of proof in front of your eyes says the same thing. This doesn't work. The money isn't doing anything, it's all me. And that feeling is the single biggest reason people quit. They're standing on the steepest part of the hill, pushing the hardest they'll ever have to push, seeing the least reward they'll ever see, and they conclude the hill goes up forever. So they walk away, they let go of the car, and it rolls all the way back down. But watch what happens as you keep climbing, because the second rope has a secret. It gets stronger every single foot you climb, and not in a straight line. It grows on itself. Picture this. The money rope isn't a fixed thread. It's more like a vine that thickens as the pile behind it grows, and every new dollar it pulls in becomes part of the pile, which makes it pull even harder next year, which grows the pile faster, which makes it pull harder still. It's a snowball rolling downhill, picking up snow, getting bigger, which lets it pick up even more snow faster. In the beginning, the snowball is the size of a marble, and it's picking up almost nothing. But somewhere down the hill, it's the size of a boulder, and it's swallowing a foot of snow with every turn, and you're just walking beside it, watching. So let's find the crest of the hill. Let's find the number where the money rope finally pulls as hard as you do, where the second rope matches the first, because that is the exact moment the work changes hands. Here's how to find it. Picture how much you save in a year with your own two hands. Let's say you're putting away $500 a month, a real reachable number for a lot of people. Over a year, that's $6,000 of your own muscle, your rope, going into the pile. Now the question is, how big does the pile have to get before it's rope? The 7% growth also pulls in $6,000 a year, all on its own without you lifting a finger. The answer is around $85,000. Picture that number sitting at the top of the hill like a flag planted in the ground. Because at about $85,000, 7% growth generates roughly $6,000 a year, the same $6,000 you're adding with your own sweat. And that means the two ropes are now pulling with equal force. Your money is matching you, dollar for dollar, effort for effort. You've reached the crest. For every foot you push the car forward, the hill is now pushing it forward just as far on its own. And if you save more, the flag just sits a little further up the hill. If you're putting away $1,000 a month, $12,000 a year of your own effort, then the pile has to reach around $170,000 before its growth matches your muscle. The exact spot moves depending on how hard you're pushing. But for a huge number of ordinary people saving ordinary amounts, that crest, the place where your money starts pulling its own weight, lands somewhere in the neighborhood of $100,000. That is the number. That is the crest of the hill. Below it, you are the engine. At it, you and your money are equal partners. And above it, this is where it gets good. Above it, your money becomes the engine, and you become the passenger. Let me show you what your money works harder than you do actually looks like on the other side of that crest, because it is genuinely strange to watch. Picture your pile has grown past the flag, and it now sits at $200,000. 7% growth on $200,000 is $14,000 a year. Now picture yourself still adding your $6,000 a year of muscle. Look at those two numbers side by side. You're contributing $6,000 and your money is contributing $14,000. The ropes have switched places. The money rope is now the thick one, straining and pulling the car up the hill, and your rope, your paycheck contribution, has become the thread. Picture yourself walking beside the car now, one hand resting lightly on the trunk, barely pushing, while the thing rolls forward mostly on its own. You are no longer the engine. You're just along for the ride, nudging. And it keeps tilting. Picture the pile at $500,000. Now 7% is $35,000 a year appearing in your account. Money you did not earn at a job, money that showed up because the pile is big enough to generate it. For most people, that is more than they save in a year. It might be approaching what they earn in a year. Picture a second worker who lives inside your bank account, who never sleeps, never takes a day off, never asks for a raise, and who now out-earns the version of you that goes to work every morning. That is not a metaphor for something far away. That is just 7% of a large enough pile. There's a moment on this journey that changes people forever, and I want you to picture it, because you'll feel it when it comes. It's the first year that your account grows more from its own returns than from everything you managed to put in. The first year the hill pushes the car further than your own two hands did. Picture opening your account at the end of that year and seeing that the growth line is taller than the contribution line for the very first time. And understanding in your gut that the thing you've been building has come alive. It's working now, it's pulling, and it will never fully depend on you again. Now let me be honest with you about why almost nobody ever gets to see that moment, because it's not what you'd think, and it's the most important part of this whole video. It's not that people can't save the money, it's that the climb before the crest is psychologically designed to break you. Go back to the bottom of the hill, to that person pushing the car with their bare hands, seeing $70 of growth in a year. Picture the view from down there. It is all effort and no reward. Every signal your eyes send you says the money rope doesn't exist, that compounding is a lie people tell, that this will be a grind forever. There is no visible payoff for years, and so people do the most human thing imaginable. They stop pushing something that appears to push back nothing. Picture the graph of this journey, because the shape of it is the whole trap. For a long stretch at the beginning, the line is almost flat. A slow, boring, heartbreaking crawl along the ground, rising so gently it barely looks like it's moving. That flat stretch is the climb to the crest, and it takes years, and it is where every quitter quits. And then it bends harder, and then it goes nearly vertical, rocketing toward the sky. Almost all of the dramatic, exciting, life-changing growth happens in that steep part at the end. But you cannot get to the steep part without first walking across the long, flat part that feels like nothing is happening. The flat part is the price of admission to the vertical part. And most people look at the flat part, decide the whole graph is flat, and leave right before it bends. There's a second way people fall, and it's quieter and sadder. Picture someone who has been climbing for years and finally has $30,000 in the pile. They're most of the way up the hill. And then life presents a reason. A nicer car, a wedding, a vacation, a want dressed up as a need. And $30,000 sitting there, growing slowly, feels like money that isn't doing much. So they spend it. Picture them taking their hands off the car near the top of the hill and watching it roll all the way back to the bottom, wiping out every foot of climb, every year of pushing. And then they start over from the flat. People do this over and over across their whole lives and conclude that building wealth is impossible, when what actually happened is they never once let the car reach the crest. So let me tell you exactly how to get there, because the strategy on this hill is completely different depending on where you're standing. The first move is the most important thing I'll say in this entire video. Before the crest, you are the engine, so your only job is to feed the pile as fast as you humanly can. This is the part people get exactly backwards. When you have $5,000 saved, you'll be tempted to spend hours agonizing over squeezing an extra % of return out of it, chasing the perfect investment, the hot pick, the clever move. But an extra % on $5,000 is $50 a year. It is nothing. It is a rounding error on a rounding error. In this phase, the return barely matters because the pile is too small for any rope but yours to pull. What matters enormously is how much muscle you're adding. Picture pouring every bit of energy you'd waste optimizing a tiny pile into simply making the pile bigger. The raise, the side income, the expense you kill, the automatic transfer you increase. Before the crest, you don't optimize the car, you push it harder. The second move is to protect the climb with your life, because the single most common way people fail is not slow saving, it's starting over. You must build a wall around the compounding pile so that life's emergencies can never reach in and drag the car back down the hill. That means a separate boring emergency fund, plain cash, easy to reach, that exists for one job, to absorb the flat tire, the medical bill, the broken furnace, so the long-term pile never has to be touched. Picture two separate containers, one shock absorber out front that takes all the hits, and behind it, walled off the pile that just keeps climbing, untouched, no matter what the year throws at you. The person who reaches the crest is almost never the one who saved the most. It's the one who never once cashed out and started over. The third move is to automate the pushing, so it doesn't depend on how motivated you feel. The climb to the crest is long and unrewarding, and anything that requires willpower every single month will eventually fail on a month when you're tired or discouraged, or life is loud. So take the decision out of your hands entirely. Picture the money moving itself, a set amount sliding from your paycheck into the pile the instant it arrives. Every time, forever, whether you feel like it that month or not. You decided once. After that, the car gets pushed automatically, even on the days you would have quit. The fourth move is to learn to trust the math when your eyes are lying to you, because on the long flat stretch, your eyes will scream that this isn't working. So instead of measuring your progress by how fast the balance is climbing, which will depress you for years, measure the things that are actually moving. Picture tracking the total you've contributed, watching that climb steadily with every push. Picture marking how far up the hill you are, what percentage of the way to the crest you've reached. Give yourself a way to see the progress that the balance alone won't show you yet, because the thing that kills people on the flat stretch isn't the difficulty. It's the silence. It's pushing and feeling like nothing is answering back. And here's the reframe I want you to carry out of this video, because the long, flat, boring climb gets described all wrong. That grind before the crest is not the punishment you endure to earn the reward later. It is the most valuable, highest leverage work you will ever do with money in your entire life. Here's why. Before the crest, you are the engine, which means every single dollar you add is doing the maximum possible work, because it has the most years to compound and the most hill left to help climb. A dollar you save early doesn't just sit there. It becomes the foundation the entire snowball is built on. Later, when your money is doing all the work, your own contributions barely matter anymore. Right now, on the flat part, in the grind, where it feels like nothing is happening, is the exact moment your effort counts for the most it will ever count. You are not stuck at the bottom of the hill. You are standing in the single most powerful position you will ever occupy, and it is temporary, and it is right now. Let me show you all of this in two lives, because the difference between the person who reaches the crest and the person who doesn't is smaller than you'd ever imagine, and it decides everything. Picture two people, same age, same job, same paycheck landing on the same day. Both of them are savers. This isn't a story about a spender versus a saver, which would be too easy. Both of them push the car up the hill faithfully $500 a month for 20 years. Same effort. Same muscle. Call one of them the crest and the other the cliff. The cliff does everything right except one thing. Every time the pile grows to a decent size, every time the car gets near the top of a rise, something perfectly reasonable comes along and pulls the money out. A car that made sense. A wedding. A renovation. A stretch where the pile was just sitting there and life had an obvious use for it. And every time, the cliff takes their hands off the car and lets it roll back down and starts pushing again from the flat. Not recklessly. Every single one of those choices was defensible in the moment. But over 20 years, the pile never once gets to crest the hill. The cliff spends 2 decades on the steepest, hardest part of the climb, pushing with their bare hands, and never once feels the road tip downward. The Crest does exactly one thing differently. The Crest never lets the car roll back. Same $500 a month, same reasonable temptations, same life, but the compounding pile is walled off, untouchable, treated as though it belongs to someone else. Life's expenses get handled some other way. And so, somewhere around year 8, the Crest's pile pushes over the top of the hill, past the flag, and the road tips. And from that moment on, the Crest has that second rope, the money rope, pulling alongside them, and then harder than them, doing more and more of the work every single year while they push less and less. Now here's where I want you to brace. Both people saved the exact same amount out of their own pockets over those 20 years. Every dollar of muscle identical. But the Cliff, after 2 decades of faithful pushing, has barely anything, because they kept rolling back to the bottom and never once reached the part of the hill where money works on its own. And the Crest, having pushed the same amount, ends with several times more, a pile large enough that its own growth now dwarfs anything they add, because they got over the Crest and let the hill do the rest. Same effort, same income, same 20 years. One of them spent it all pushing a car uphill by hand, and the other spent the back half walking beside a car that was rolling on its own. And the only difference between them was this: one of them let the pile reach the top of the hill and never ever rolled it back. So let me bring this all the way home, back to where we started. Picture yourself, right now, wherever you actually are on that hill. Maybe you're at the very bottom, hands not even on the car yet. Maybe you're a few $1,000s in, pushing hard, seeing almost nothing, wondering if any of this is real. Maybe you're closer to the Crest than you think. Wherever you are, understand the shape of the road ahead of you now in a way that most people never do. There is a flat, grinding stretch, and it is long and it will feel like it's never going to end, and the growth will be so small you'll be tempted over and over to believe the money rope doesn't exist. It exists, it's a thread now, it's becoming a vine. And there is a Crest, somewhere around that $100,000 neighborhood for most people, where the road tips and the car starts to roll and everything you've been doing by hand starts happening on its own. Almost everyone quits before that Crest, because from the bottom of the hill, the moment right before it works looks exactly like the moment where it never will. The flat stretch and the base of the mountain look identical. That's the whole trap. So if you're down there right now, pushing, sweating, seeing $70 of growth and wondering what the point is, I need you to understand exactly what you're looking at. You are not failing, you are climbing. That flat stretch is not the story. It's the toll you pay to reach the part of the road where your money finally takes the weight off your hands. So keep your hands on the car, feed the pile, wall it off, don't ever roll it back, and climb one boring foot at a time toward that number at the top of the hill. Because on the other side of it, for the rest of your life, your money works harder than you do, and all you have to do is walk beside it.